Welcome everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, December 2nd, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards, we're starting our day off with today. We've got here our King of Pentacles energy and our in its reversal in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. Guys, today's clumsy. It's a clumsy day. It's just a clumsy day. Some days are just clumsy. Okay, so what do we say about that? Remember, measure twice, cut once. Don't move quickly, move more slowly. Careful kind of energy is what we're seeing. So a lot of that, and I think that really articulates like the weight of, it's like, it's heavy but slippery energy today. That's the best way I can describe it. Heavy but slippery. So just remember, that. And we'll get into it in more detail, but that's like the overriding message right now. Heavy but slippery. So be conscientious of it. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Because what do we do, right? What do we do when we feel that same sense of slipperiness? We are graceful for those. Like, we give grace. If someone else is also carrying something energetically clumsily, then you give them a little bit of grace. You're like, I get it. I understand. I feel it too. This is having a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. For masculine and feminine energy right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing that is occurring, it has to do, Mercury's in the Gatorade again, and like the Gatorade slippery. A lot of that work that we're seeing to a certain extent is just like, it's par for the course, it's rough terrain. It's rough terrain. But and that's why we see even now, don't get frustrated. Do you ever see someone like slip on the ground, they try to get up and they like slip again because they get so frustrated, and then like the more frustrated that they get, the harder it is to get up. Don't let that happen to you today, right? Like you navigate something energetically clumsy, and you just kind of acknowledge it, and you navigate it with energetic grace, and then you move forward, and you're graceful and kind to yourself in the process. So for a lot of the energy right now, for the energy deep within divine union right now, I want to say a lot of this work that we're seeing to a certain degree, it has to do with the amplification of weight, right? Working through that, feeling the weight or the sense of pressure as it relates to responsibility today. Like, that's what I mean even now. Like, that sense or that space of not being hard on yourself because you're trying to do a lot. Like, that is the gift that the energetic counterparts give each other every step of the way. Because a lot of that work, like identifying and recognizing something in that fashion, being gentle on one another in the process, this is how the energy deep within divine union supports one another, because they look to one another and say, how can I make that energetically easier, right? And that's not that easement point, if you will, right? That's not that easement point that feels like the overgiving of an energetic burden, but this is a lot of that work that we see even now, that is the amplification and articulation in recognizing the gift that we give each other is acknowledging and being present for what we navigate to a certain extent. Now, for masculine energy right now, one of the overarching things that I need to say is, again, your intrinsic value is not based upon and built upon what you deliver. And I feel like there's a lot of masculine energy that's flinching at that, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because a lot of this energy that I see even now is working in that vector. And remember, do you remember the overarching message that we saw that was coming through yesterday? You can please everybody some of the time, you can please some people all of the time. You can't, like, no matter what you do, remember, like, if masculine energy, if you're feeling that weight of saying, no matter what I do, it feels like I'm energetically displeasing someone or something, like, yeah, like, unfortunately, that is a bit of the amplification point of what we experience from day to day. That's why it's so important that we allow our intentionality to guide us, right? That moving on that pathwork of integrity is so vital and necessary. Now, I see even now, like, for a lot of that masculine energy doing so, yeah, I want to say, like, this is the masculine energy that it's learning to let go, right? But in that sense of learning to let go, it's trusting the energetic process, right? This is the energy. This is the energy that is kind of like moving in that modality. And I see even now that the beauty of this is, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that gift of just kind of rolling with the punches, if you will, of going with the flow. That is the gift that they're learning from the energetic, the feminine counterpart to a certain extent, right? And it's allowing the masculine to have a different perception on things, like their own ability of seeing something in a certain way has shifted. And I want to say that this is the energy, the masculine, deep within divine union, that's effectively learning how to be less hard on themselves. Because what is the energetic lesson that masculine has been giving forth to feminine? You're too hard on yourself, right? While for feminine energy, deep within divine union, like, this is that same feeling of energetic support, moving towards masculine, giving them that reassurance, almost giving them back the same lesson that they themselves have been giving towards you, right? This is reciprocity at its finest, because this is the energy that doesn't just see something in a negative point and deliver more of that back. This is the energy that moves that context of taking something that is a difficulty and moving it into an energetic possibility, right? For masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is how that pathwork feels as they're moving deeper into divine union, right? What did we say was a big overarching message that was coming through for the energy coming into divine union right now? When you want something, but you leave yourself adaptable as to how it can come to you, beautiful things can occur in that space, right? It's a surprise energy. It's a surprise energy. And so I see even now there's a bit of the masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. There's a bit of that feeling of surprise. And the surprise that we're seeing has to do effectively and particularly with what it feels like to be within something healthy, right? Because often when it feels like you're in a space of working towards what feels healthy, it's the inner work. It's a work on the self. It's requiring that eternal, it's like that in like eternal calibration to a certain extent. And so for masculine, I see even now, this is the masculine energy that is potentially looking back at past version of self during this retrograde and saying, wow, my priorities were like way out of whack back there, right? Because the ability of kind of creating something from nothing, right? The ineffable quality of partnership, of healthy partnership that you cannot hold, but that feels invaluable to you. This is a lot of that energy that is feeling the pride. I just keep hearing feeling the pride of what they're creating. And that pride isn't because masculine just like walked into the perfect partnership, didn't just walk in and found the perfect counterpart, found like that it was amazing. There's nobody perfect in the entire world. This is the masculine being like, I finally found a perfect person. Like, this is the masculine energy that has worked on the pathwork of perfecting the self, that remembers that perfection is something that we create, not something that we find. While for feminine energy, I see even now that feeling of not needing everything to be exactly the way that you desire it to be, right? That exactingness. This is the feminine energy that's utilizing that exactingness and putting it in the spaces that matter. Not so much the tangibility point, but more the energetic feeling. the recognition of perfection and what we craft with counterpart. This is the energy that becomes more flexible in relationality to everything else around them, because this is the energy that focuses on that feeling. While for a lot of this energy and separation right now, I just see even now, this is new. These are some new energetic connections that are forming right now. And the thing I like about them is there's no artifice here. There's not a lot of artifice that I'm seeing, because this is the energy that's being very authentic to one another at this time. For masculine, it feels a little clumsy. This is why the clumsiness is coming through, because if this is the masculine that's not approaching feminine from a place of their ego, this is the masculine that feels kind of awkward in the process of doing this. This is the masculine, like, allowing themselves to be cringe before feminine, because this is the feminine masculine energy. Here's the masculine energy saying, like, I am cringe, but I am free, right? Because this is the masculine that, again, doesn't mean the masculine says, take me or leave me as I am. This is the masculine that says, I'm always trying to do better. And that means I'm not perfect, but I'm not going to put on the facade that I am towards you, because I want you to see me at my authenticity, right? And so for feminine, seeing and receiving that from masculine, I see even now that there's a lot of that feminine that starts to feel that same quality and characteristic, their own ability to let their hair down to a certain extent, because this is the energy that facilitates and navigates in that fashion. Though for feminine, it's more difficult, because I'm seeing even now it's a challenge of the throat chakra in being more honest, right? Instead of just being agreeable. Center card for today's spread. One card to clarify. Whoa, look who's back again. This Page of Cups, man. This is that cruise control that we're feeling right now in this retrograde. I need to point this out. I feel like if there was any other time period, this retrograde would feel like a grinding halt, but it doesn't feel like a grinding halt right now. It feels like cruise control, right? Why does it feel like cruise control? Because when you feel a stillness point, but you don't focus on the stillness, you go start doing other things, you keep yourself energetically busy, then this is the energy that's like got their hands full, right? Because this isn't the energy that's like coming towards each other from a space of need. This is energy that's coming towards each other from a space of contentment. Contentment. The gift that we give the counterpart when we find them in a healthy place. Why do we work on being energetically healthy? Because when we find one another in a place of contentment, when we find each other at a place of contentment, then it doesn't feel like we're trying to build into a relationship that says, I have an inexpressible need that I need you to fill, and I'm going to be very upset and volatile if you don't figure out what it is. And no, I haven't figured it out either, but that's your job to do, and how dare you if you don't. Instead, we come to each other and say, I'm good. I'm chill. I'm vibing. What are you vibing? Because that ability of vibing to a certain extent, like, that's all it means. It means I am energetically content within my own energy, right? And so I see what's kind of beautiful about this is the energy that is working, and it's not from a selfish place here. You understand? This isn't the energy that says, if you kill my, it's not, this is the energy that builds into that context of feeling peace and making peace with the self, because that is the same peace that they're not only looking to find from the counterpart, but they're also creating within the self. It's creating more energetic abundance. So this is beautiful energy right now in separation. For the energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that's finding new things that feel like fun. I can see a bunch of energy coming into divine union being like, I never thought I would think that this was fun, right? Like something about there's a bit of this joy here that I see in something. I told you, what's the beauty when you slow something down and you have to show someone else how to do it? It suddenly becomes ritual. Right? Something that you don't even think twice about. That's why the beauty of learning is so impactful and important, because when we slow something down that we ourselves learn, understand, and we give it to another person, we learn new things along the way, right? It is that slowing down process, right? That introspection. And I see even now there's like a little bit of, I want to say, the refinement of taste, if you will, that is occurring right now for energy coming into divine union, learning about the nuances of someone's taste, right? Or the eccentricities, if you will. That so much of this work I see even now, it's creating a little bit of cringe in those coming into divine union, because sometimes in those moments when you say to someone like, I'm a little particular about this thing or something like that, you can feel a little goofy in the saying it. But it also creates that sense or that space of joy, right? Because these are the energies that are delighting in discovering one another's eccentricities. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is, I gotta say, this is like a little bit of this energy deep within divine union is more like it's a letting off of steam, right? It's a letting off of steam is what I'm seeing. It's a letting off of steam. And the gift of this that I keep seeing is the ability to let off steam with the counterpart allows, like when you allow for the ability to remove energetic pressure, everybody around you gets a blessing. I just keep seeing that there's a lot of energy that should be like, I see the energy within divine union being like, you should all be very thankful for my counterpart right now. Like, this is the energy that basically says that, because it's like when you have someone to let steam off with, everybody around you benefits. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, what do we have here? I see like the 6 of Wands and it's upright, and the 5 of Swords and it's upright, because this is the beauty, and this is why I see it even now. This energy is it's weird, right? You're gonna tell me it's weird. I know it's weird. It's weird, but it's productive, right? Weird doesn't have to not be productive, but I see even now that this is I just keep hearing like going with the flow, rolling with the punches, right? Like there's a beauty of that to a certain extent, because one's own ability, and this is a lot of those lessons that we saw, the combination effort between the Taurus full moon and the Scorpio energy. What do you do with energetic discomfort, right? The Plutonic energy moving out of Capricorn, which is more forceful, being like, no, we got to fight against the weirdness. We have to fight against the weirdness. Versus the Pluto in Aquarius, it's like, or we could just be curious about the weirdness, like a little bit of that adaptability to a certain extent. We see even now that there's a bit of this c'est la vie characteristic to something, right? And so I see even now the beauty of that is the energy deep within divine union, letting off steam, not taking oneself so seriously, is not taking oneself so personally. This is a lot of the energy that's just kind of like not letting their ego get in the way of getting things done. While for masculine and feminine energy that's coming into divine union, right? That work, it's the same thing, same message. Not like, this is the energy that's recognized. Like, I can see the energy saying, like, coming into divine union, looking back at experiences and saying, wow, I was standing in my own way, right? I was standing, like when we have those moments when we check our own ego, and this is why it's so important to do that work. It can feel a little bittersweet, because then we look at the past version of self and say like, yeah, like that person, like, like those are that like there's some energy there. That was someone that was operating from the state of their own ego. Right? That was my pride. And that ability of doing that, and I have to point this out, often the best way to describe healing of the egoic nature is when you look back at the past and say, that was my pride, and I'm not proud of it. I'm going to say that again because it's important, right? the way you heal the egoic nature, the recognition point of circumstances that you're healing, the egoic self, is when you look back and you're able to acknowledge and say, that was my pride. I'm not proud of it, right? Because that ability of recognizing and identifying that prioritization point that we see that's occurring right now for energy coming into union, this is the energy that is working in that context of reprioritizing. And when we reprioritize, it changes our perspective of the present, but also of the past version of self or the past version of circumstances. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, that's why I just see even now, this is clean. This is clean sweep energy. And I need to point this out, this isn't energy. You understand when I say clean sweep here, I don't mean this is energy saying, I am no longer attached to my past. That is to new day, new me. Whatever that is, not me. No, this is the energy that carries that past forward, that's doing that heavy work of integrating the past, right? Because this is the energy that looks like works to look backwards and forwards. Because this is the energy that says every step I take, I look back to see what the vantage point looks like in the way that I have traveled. Because that ability of being able to look back clearly while also moving forward, this is the energy that doesn't feel like they're wandering aimlessly. They're building into that context of recognizing their journey and letting those lessons guide them forward to a certain extent. Why would you want to let go of a past if every time you look back upon it, there's a new energetic lesson to learn, right? This is the energy that's carrying that forward to a certain extent. And that is what is fortifying them in relationality to feeling, even though it's bittersweet, that they're moving in the right direction. Because that's the gift of when the Mercury retrograde comes back. Because when the Mercury retrograde comes back and you're ready to meet it, you're willing to understand and recognize and observe those lessons, not from a space of fear, but from a state of invested personal interest. It's your energetic journey. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles in combination with, in its reversal, in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Tower energy. So let's talk about it a little bit. Again, one of the benefits that we see right now, one of the things that we've been talking about heavily, what have we been recognizing? And again, I'm going to say it even now. You don't have to fear the Tower card because it all depends on context. This is really important to see in relationality to the cards that are surrounding the Tower right now. What have we been talking about? What have we been talking about in the readings over the last few days? The observation and the understanding of what an energetic obstacle is. Why is it a blessing to recognize what an energetic obstacle is? Because it's only by ascertaining what an obstacle is are you able to navigate forward in such a way that you can remove the energetic obstacle, right? Is like, and I see even now, like a lot of this work, it feels frustrating because when you're navigating through an obstacle, it's not ideal, right? But it also allows the context of being able to identify and recognize a breakthrough. So even here, this is why the energy deep within divine union is letting steam off with one another, because this is the energy that's saying, like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm blasting through obstacles today. How are you doing? I'm blasting through obstacles today. A lot of that work, it's loud and it's frustrating, but this is the energy that is almost moving in the direction of it for the sake of being able to move through it, right? Like some things, you can't go over it. Like, what do you do when you have an obstacle? Can't go over it, can't go under it. Sometimes you just got to go through it. While for masculine and feminine energy that's coming into divine union, I see a lot of energy that's working through the anxiety of the self that may have prevented healthy connection. And some of it may have been gravitating or having gravitas on what an incorrect assumption of perfection was. If this was energy that was focused or feeling that sense of saying, like, the perfect energetic connection will just be perfect, It won't require any work. I'll just, it's like I'll just walk into my manifestation and be like, oh, this is nice. I was looking for this. Like, this is the energy that recognizes the valuation point of creating something with your own hands, which feels like everything's coming apart at the seams every moment that you're doing it effectively, right? It feels like perpetual effort, but this is the energy that and even now, like, the beauty of that partnership is that modality that feels like everything is at the same time, everything is coming apart while everything is coming together, right? Because why is everything always coming together? Because when you focus your intentionality on keeping something intact, then that is how you build an energetic relationship, via prioritizing that energetic connection, right? And this isn't the energy that says, no matter what, we have to stay energetically together. This isn't the energy that says, no, I'll just do that even if you don't want to. This is the energy that is committed to each other on that work. And that commitment and process and promise, this is the energy that says the prioritization point is the amplification of what something energetically means, right? The valuation point of how much something means to one another. And this is the energy that suddenly, when you come into that space of both recognizing and saying, this means everything to me, then that promise or that pledge says, I will never let you down, right? Because that is the mutual burden that is shared in relationality to recognizing what that takes, but also the investiture in reclaiming it at every moment. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, like, I keep hearing a lot of this energy in separation saying not going back, right? And I need to stress this. This is why closure comes in many forms. If this is energy in separation, which every step looking back, if you look back on the past, right? If you're moving forward, right? And you're looking back on the past, and the further you get, the worse something looks, then that's usually an amplification that you're moving in the right direction, right? If the further you get from something, the worse it looks, then there's a lot of energy that says, like I feel like there's a little bit of this energy right now in separation that's having some of that past returning and going like, woof, like that distance, like it's creating perspective, right? Be like, oh, that didn't look as bad when I was in it, but geez, like it's a lot of that type of energy there. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Page of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. If I gotta tell you guys, please, if you missed yesterday's reading, we were on a little later, go look at the spread. Yesterday's spread was wild. So much balance yesterday that we recognized and identified in the cards as it relates to masculine and feminine energy, both with the combination. You'll see it in the video if you head over to YouTube. The Emperor and the Empress coming out together in the spread. We also had the sword energies there too. We had a lot of similarities. We had the King and the Queen of Swords rising up, right? So there was a lot of this feeling, and we're seeing a lot of those similar cards here in today's reading as well. So we've got here again the feminine energy, much in the same modality that we saw it yesterday. Queen of Swords energy. Again, keeping like a lot of that cool under pressure, a lot of working through that to a certain extent. This is the energy even here. I see even now, like this is energy of feminine in the separation, like looking at something and recognizing it's actually like this because the cards are like, this is the feminine energy. Why is the feminine energy in separation looking back right now? Is this the feminine energy in separation looking back from a point of longing? Does this look like the energy of a feminine energy looking back to the past from a point of longing? This is the feminine with the past at their back, right? And this is the feminine energy celebrating themselves in separation to a certain extent, because this is the feminine articulating how far they've come. This is the feminine energy articulating the strength it has taken them to persevere thus far. And this is the feminine energy that says to them, says to those that they meet, I'm not going to frame myself as an energetic victim, because then I don't take, if I frame myself as an energetic victim, then I don't get to identify, like I take the energetic responsibility in recognizing what I have navigated, and feeling that sense of pride in my own self and those similarities of journeys. And that's not the feminine that says that's not the feminine welcoming anything that was negative that occurred in the past towards them. But this is the feminine that reclaims that narrative, that articulates upon it, right? And so we see even now there's a lot of that energetic strength, and I see a lot of the feminine energy saying to themselves, like, I embrace my past in any context that it comes towards me, because that is the journey that has brought me where I am today, right? So we see even now, like, there's a lot of that feminine energy appreciating themselves in that way. For masculine, this work right now may be a little bit, it's not so much like a victory feeling. I see even now there's a lot of this masculine energy coming into energetic peace. This is why the combination right now was the Empress in its upright and the Emperor in its reversal, because this is the masculine energy that says, I don't try to control everything around me. I see the masculine may potentially even looking back and saying, the parts of my life when I tried to control everything, even if they were going well, I was not happy, because I had to use all of my force to keep something the way I desired it to be, right? So I see even now that a lot of that masculine energy is coming into that space of recognizing and like moving towards feminine, much more in the state of saying, I want to be able to play. I don't want to feel that burden of responsibility and controlling everything all the time, because when I'm controlling everything all the time in partnership, that's not playing, right? That's organizing. That's being responsible. So I see even now that this is the masculine energy kind of finding themselves by re-engaging with feminine in a way that feels more like the embracing, and this is the inner child healing, the relationship that feels and embraces that intimacy of play, right? Like, we ask each other to play. We ask what we're interested in. We articulate our own desire, but we almost step back a bit because we're interested in hearing what the other person would like to do as well. So there's some really, I want to say look at these two cards together, and I'm going to say it again. We don't want these energies in the same modality, because that's when they conflict. But when they dovetail like this, it can allow for a lot of beautiful energy work, because these are the energies where one person is feeling more forceful, the other one curves in, you see? So there's a lot of that beautiful path work that we see is occurring at this time. It's hard because, again, it's not perfect. It's not perfect right now, but it's progress, and it's the energy that says, I'm going to make perfect where I find it. I'm not seeking it. I am arbitrating it. I am creating it from thin air. While for masculine and feminine, same exact vibration today. This is the energy that's celebrating how far they've come. Doesn't mean where they are where they need to be, but they're really proud of it, because I feel like there's a lot of energy right now that's struggling over things that they never would have thought they would have had the opportunity to struggle over. Because when you're spending every moment of your day trying to argue with someone about what the nature of a relationship is, it doesn't really give you much focus in being able to see where it's going to go. So I see even now, I hear that this is the energy saying, I've gotten out of my own way. And for feminine, that is, again, recognizing that adaptability within masculine. This is a feminine saying, I was trying to control masculine too much. If I was encountering previous masculine energy and they weren't in that modality of desiring to play, and I was like, come, do it. Like, this is the feminine energy that says, I can't bring that forth in someone. They need to arrive towards me in that way. And this is, again, the energy that feels that vitality of understanding as they move towards into partnership with masculine that is on their own journey. And this is the masculine that's healing with the sense of relief that says, oh my goodness, thank goodness, I don't need to be perfect for feminine. I just need to care and be my authentic self. I see a lot of the masculine going, that was all it took. I just needed to care and be my authentic self. That sense or space of doing so. I see even now there's a lot of that sense, and I see it's the energy that is finding that ability to change and coming more into alignment with themselves because, and they're worried. Look at them. This is the energy really worried about messing it up. You know why? Because when we're worried about something, guess what? We're constantly worried about messing it up. That's what love is. Love is like constantly being in a state of energetic anxiety to a certain extent, because when you love something, you worry for it. You care about it, right? While for masculine, and this is the energy that's like learning to navigate that and feeling like feeling the energetic delight in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we see that is happening right now, deep within divine union, this is the energetic work of just like, this is the energy that's got their hard hats on, man. This is the energy just like, I'm like knocking down walls right now. Like everybody else is kind of vibing out to a certain extent. And I feel like this is the energy deep within divine union doing like heavy construction or deconstruction, right? But this is the energy that's also like whistling while they work in the process, because this is the energy that's like, that feels the similarity and the vibrancy of navigating it with someone that's also in the same modality, right? This is the energy that says to one another as they're doing so, you're not alone. I'm doing it too, right? I'm with you every step of the way. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups and its upright in combination with our Six of Wands and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Cups in its reversal. Now, okay, so so we were talking a lot about this. We're talking a lot. Everything that's been coming through right now during this retrograde has to do it's like ego check. Does everyone have their egos? Can you pull your ego out, please? Can everybody show their ego to each other? Because, that sense or that space of doing so, it's navigating that, it's recognizing and identifying and coming to that point of appreciation, as it were, in not taking, I'm going to say like not taking things personally, right? Like when you're in that space of prioritizing, you're not taking things energetically personally. But and that's why when someone else is taking something energetically personally, you can navigate it with the sense or space of compassion to a certain extent, right? Because that understanding, and this is why that context of the past is so important here, like that ability of recognizing and identifying. I see even now a lot of that point that's working, like facilitated, is not only is the energy deep within divine union not taking things personally, but they're trying to heal in the context of those around them that may be or still are, right? Because a lot of that work that we see to a certain extent, this is the energy deep within divine union that is building upon that feeling or that space of working through, like overcoming energetic challenges. And when we see each other and we recognize the weight, the sheer weight that we each experience day to day, like imagine for a moment that everyone you've ever met is experiencing the same exact challenges and challenges as you. Maybe not in the same way, but that ability of doing so and navigating that forward to a certain extent, it creates the context Like, why, how could you be like, you can't necessarily hold anything against anyone to a certain degree because you're not taking things personally. But at the same time, if someone else's ego comes towards you in a way that they hurt, like they navigate or they move towards something that is integral, this is where the energetic ego arises, because this is the energetic ego that arises that is acting like something that is healthy and protective. Because this is the energetic ego that rises up and says, you can't pass beyond this point because this is something that matters, right? And so I see even now like a little bit of that articulation, a little bit of that work or that description of that work, right? Walking through that. This is like the energy of like walking softly and carrying a big stick, because this is the energy that we say that the kindness that we give others is a gift, because that's the modality of saying that we learn when we're operating from a state of healthy ego. We're very adaptable, but that doesn't mean that we're fickle, right? We're very flexible, but it doesn't mean that we're not firm. So we see even now, like there's a little more of that. There's a lot of that same energy here. It's something like this is the silk to steel, something that is very adaptable, except at its energetic core. Continuing to, and so I even now, this is why I see that the energy deep within divine union is ego checking one another, because this is the energy that always affirms and says, am I right here? Right? Is this a space that feels accurate to be firm about? And that ability of recognizing that, like that creates that conversation. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now, this is the energy that's just, I just see like energy coming into divine union that recognizes and feels some of the energy around them shifting or changing as a result of coming into that deepened state of partnership, right? And some of it, I want to say, this may feel a little uncomfortable, because if this is energy that's moving deeper into divine union and the energy around them is taking it personally, that changes one's own perspective in relationality to what is occurring around you. So we see even now that this may be difficult, because this is potentially, I see even now some energy moving deeper into divine union, dealing with some of the energy around them and how that movement, that point of celebration, is affecting the context of the energy surrounding them. But again, when we're moving towards one another deep within, like into divine union, that pathwork of purpose, right? It isn't impacted, right? It isn't energetically impacted by that. It's just something that one takes note of, right? So there's a lot of that sense or that space of observation that we see that is occurring in the process of doing that work. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation. So much of this work that we're seeing even now in separation, I see a lot of energy in separation, looking back on the past and seeing things there that they hadn't seen before. Right? Like, that's the beauty of being able to be in that context of introspection, right? It creates that sense. You don't perseverate on the past. You're not like completely focused upon the past. You don't just like constantly stare at the past, but you occasionally look back upon it, because you're like, oh, I didn't see that there, right? Because that sense or that space, like this is the energy I see even now that feels that, I want to say, the healthy balance is what the energy and separation is doing right now, between the difference of someone that looks back on the past as a point of insight versus someone that gazes back at the past with a point of profound longing, right? Because when we look back on the past with a sense of profound longing, what we're effectively doing is saying, I haven't seen the energetic lesson yet. I'm not in that space of understanding, right? I want to go back to something I cannot go back to. But when we're in that space of working through those energetic lessons, that ability to look back becomes one of personal investiture, because we say, I need to look back on that because that's where I live. That's where I've come from. And my own ability to perceive upon that informs how I find myself, because that same space, this is how we embrace and integrate the path, because we say to ourselves, I welcome the lessons that I received even in those points of difficulty in helping me recognize and identify myself going forward. For masculine and feminine right now, that may be feeling a little bit different. For feminine, it may be feeling more energetically empowering. For masculine, it may be feeling a little bit more vulnerable, because this is the masculine that's working through coming towards feminine in a way that they can be their authentic self. For feminine, coming towards masculine as an authentic self requires a lot of courage. Continuing to get clarification between our Six of Wands in combination with our Five of Swords. I love these two cards together. Can I just tell you how much I love these two cards together? Absolutely. Like if I have to, look, if I have to put two cards together for a retrograde, like if I had to put together two cards for a retrograde, thank you. These are the two cards that I would want to see together, right? Because this is the healthy appearance of looking back at the past, but feeling the grounding in the present, right? One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with Strength card. So, and again, the card that we'll be studying in our next tarot class on December 18th, graystrega.substack.com, if you'd like to become a part of those classes. A lot of this work that we're seeing here, what happens when we feel the sense of the grounding, appreciating where we are in the present, right? Looking back, being able to look back on the past. It's not that it doesn't still hurt, but we can look back and see with clarity from the perspective of the present. Up on that horse, you get a bit different view, right? From the perspective of the past, you see things from a different perspective. Sagittarius new moon energy. We find our strength. We find our understanding. We find our resolve. So a lot of this energy is basically articulating, and this is happening across all the frequencies. Can't change the past. You know what you can change? Right now. You can change who you are right now. You can change what you are right now. You can change what you prioritize right now. And what you do with that is entirely up to you. So we see even now a lot of that energy articulating and saying to oneself, the future is unwritten. And that means that anything is possible. This is a lot of that feeling of positivity, and it is fortifying across all of the frequencies. Continuing to get clarification between our Tower card in its upright and our Queen of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. I like those two cards together. I gotta be honest. I like them together. We've got here our Moon card, right? I see a lot of the energy of the feminine being like, I'm not afraid of the dark. I just see a lot of the energy of the feminine effectively saying like, I'm not afraid of the dark, but this is actually the feminine saying, I learned to be energetically brave, right? This is the feminine energy saying, I confront the darkness within because that allows me to address and confront the darkness without, right? This is the feminine energy that works on healing their own energetic shadow. This is the energy of the feminine that faces their own tendencies, right? Look at this. Does this look like someone that's avoiding things? Like, absolutely not. Like, this is the feminine energy that is in that modality wherein the feminine says, I embrace my journey and I look towards it, because if I've gone through something energetically difficult, that taught me what I was capable of. I've navigated circumstances that are difficult, and I'm moving towards them. This is the journey of the darkness that becomes the flashlight, right? How does a warrior become a warrior? You have to you go through difficulty, and then the gift of what you've gone through. It's not that we would ever desire those journeys, right? It's not that we ever want those things to occur, but that ability of embracing and recognizing and feeling the appreciation of one's own strength. This is the energy that reaffirms their commitment and says, I am brave, so I don't have to energetically repeat those lessons. I'm going to allow that to create that sense or space of recognizing and identifying what I need to see going forward. And for a lot of this energy of feminine and separation right now, this does feel fortifying, right? This is the feminine facing the unknown. But this isn't the feminine facing the unknown from a place of fear. This is a lot of the feminine energy saying to themselves, I've experienced energetic fear in the past, and this is the gift of what I've learned from it. So this is actually even now forging some of those new energetic connections that we see that are occurring at this time. Masculine is doing this work as well, right? And this is the masculine that also embraces themselves, because again, if these are the modalities where masculine, you're healing from those spaces or places where you felt that your own egoic nature created a wall, a false version of self to put before feminine, as opposed to one's true authentic nature. This is a lot of the masculine potentially healing in that modality and saying, when I bring falsehood to feminine, when I'm not able to be my, and this isn't the I need to say this isn't the masculine energy like creating the false sense of self. This is the masculine energy trying to heal their own egoic journey, because this is the masculine facing their energetic ego that often says, dude, I was just trying to protect you, and being like, you tried to protect me, now everyone's running away from me. Right? Like this is a lot of the difficulty that the masculine has as it navigates the ego. Because when the ego becomes too protective, the ego goes like, woo, and everybody flees, right? This is the masculine saying to the ego, dude, I gotta check you, because I know you're well-intentioned. I know you're here I know you're the part of myself that's here to protect me, but when I'm not in that control of you, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. Your intentions can be absolutely pure, but if you're not energetically careful of them, right? Like if you're not mindful, like this is where we see it can feel difficult. So we see even now a lot of that work navigated, as it were. This has to do with a lot of the energy of the masculine that's also coming towards feminine in this way. So both of these energies in separation challenging one another and finding themselves upon that journey. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This is the energetic appreciation of the point of how much it's taken to come to this point. I just see even now a lot of this energy coming into divine union. It hasn't necessarily been easy, right? There's been a lot of that work along the way. And there's a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now with a lot of that work in uncovering, right? Like this is the energy that does not know what the future holds because they've never come this far before in energetic partnership. Navigating that fear right now, or navigating that anxiety, or navigating that uncertainty. I see even now it's challenging for both masculine and feminine energy. And I gotta stress, when I see cards like this, if one allows one's own fear to override, I could see some energy falling back into separation at this time, right? Because it requires that feeling of confidence, right? And then it requires that feeling of confidence within one's own sense of self. So even now, don't operate from a space of fear. Don't assume the past is repeating itself. Let that intentionality guide you. You can be informed upon the past, but don't let it override what you're experiencing in the present. While for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, same right now. It's frustrating and it's confounding. But this is the energy that does not perseverate over what is frustrating or confounding. You just kind of move through things and try to come into that space of positivity and breakthroughs and solutions, because that is the gift we give one another. Continuing to get clarification between our Tower card in its upright in combination with our Three of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Cups in its reversal. Again, a little bit, and you'll remember how we said the last few days, a little bit more difficult for masculine. Now, and you see how these energies, they harmonize with each other. We had a lot of that King of Cups in its reversal over the last few days in the readings. You can go back and you'll see those cards. Now we've got the feminine in that modality with the reversal. So a lot of that emotional unpacking here that we see that is happening with the feminine. For a lot of the feminine right now, I'm going to say it even now, this is either happening on the internal level or on the external level, right? Because I see even now, this is the feminine navigating emotional overwhelm, right? Or feeling those moments of wanting to be emotionally overwhelmed. And what's the feminine doing? right? It's focusing back, like make the emotion, like put the emotion somewhere useful, right? And this is the feminine energy that does so, right? This is the feminine energy that does so in such a way. And I see even now, this is the feminine energy, and this is what we were talking about in relationality to taking something personally or recognizing like one's own egoic self. For feminine, there's a lot of this work here because a lot of this energy of the feminine that I see even now is saying to oneself the same message that we've been seeing happening across the frequencies. That sense of becoming like the emotionality, like the over emotionality is always fairly placed where it's somewhere that it's integral, right? Like I see even now maybe potentially some feminine saying I'm emotional about something because it's important to me, right? I'm not being overly energetically emotional about something because I'm always energetically emotional. I see the feminine saying I'm energetically emotional when it's important, right? And that ability of doing that refinement point, I see even now it may be creating some sense or space of working through disharmony to a certain extent, right? Because this is more of that same conversation that I saw that was occurring as it relates to the feminine not taking working on not taking something energetically personally. And in the moment of doing so, I see even now, like this is the feminine that may be feeling energetically triggered as they do so in the recollection of past experiences wherein others weren't not appreciative of their emotions, right? Like I see even now this feels healthy, but there's a lot of this like emotional unpacking here that is occurring, particularly for the energy deep within divine union. No, this is happening across all the frequencies, deep within divine union and coming into union. Because what we see here is a lot of the feminine energy getting a lot of validation from masculine to a certain extent, right? And so this is that sense or that space of checking one's own ego in those modalities of looking towards someone and saying, am I validated in feeling this way? And masculine saying yes, and vice versa. This is a lot of the energy that doesn't just dwell in the context of the emotions, but looks into what feels productive, what feels proactive. And so for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this may be having to navigate or work through like others feelings to a certain extent, right? Even potentially unpacking them to a certain degree in terms of articulating and determining what feels integral versus someone that is taking something too personally. Right? This is hard work, right? Because it's almost like the nitpicking of the ego. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're effectively seeing at this time, this is having, I'm going to say it again, I'm just seeing that there's some energy right now coming into divine union and energy around them potentially taking it personally. And it's very painful, right? It's very painful when you go through that process of experiencing what feels like a positive, and there's the recognition of someone that doesn't feel the same way. But is this the energy that's moving back into separation as a result of that work? No, it feels like it's actually destabilized. Like I see some energies that are potentially feeling some relationships outside of union destabilizing in that moment. And it feels like it's clarifying, right? And that's what feels so difficult, because I see even now for both masculine and feminine experiencing that, the changing of their own perspective in the sense or the space of seeing the energy around them changing, while also recognizing that that's also an amplification of how much they have changed. This is like the bittersweet work that we experience during the retrograde. It doesn't change our direction when we're moving in a pathwork of purpose, but it does feel like it does feel heavy, right? That's why I kept getting that message of like cruise control. Continuing to get, well, for a lot of this energy and separation right now, this is new. This is new romance. These are some very intense connections that are forming right now in separation. And I gotta say, I want to say they're a little weird, but I think that they're weird because there's like this deep degree of authenticity that is the hallmark of some of these connections, because this is the energy that's just like, I want to say like removed pretense to a certain degree, right? They're just being their authentic self. And a lot of that same sense, like this is masculine and feminine saying, like this is a beauty of it. This is feminine saying, if something about being my authentic self moves someone away from me, that's the energetic self protecting me. And masculine saying, if me coming towards feminine with all of my cringe in front of me sends the feminine away, then that's the feminine that's not for me either. So again, these are there's a lot of this energy here with the I am cringe, but I am free kind of thing going through. Continuing forward with this 3 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Strength card. Clarification coming through right now with our Emperor in its reversal, same card as yesterday. Look at this pair. I know on the outside, it may look like these in its reversal are actually very positive together, right? Like it is true that like 2 deficits make a positive. Like this is important here, because do you see this? These are the energies that are doing that work and checking themselves along the way. For feminine in separation right now, this is the feminine energy saying, I'm not going to repress my emotions, right? And this isn't the feminine being emotional, right? This is the feminine being articulating on what they are caring, like what they care about, right? And this is the feminine saying to themselves, if something about my expression of my emotionality, if masculine finds that distasteful, then what that's happening is that's a masculine that says, you're not my cup of tea. This is a feminine going, I'm a special tea. They don't like my brand of tea, right? So for masculine, this is a masculine saying, I don't want to put this false facade to feminine. I don't want to be in that space of articulating and trying to say that I'm stronger than I am. Because when I give feminine a false sense of strength, I'm setting the feminine energy up for disaster, because I can't live up to that energetic expectation of that false sense of self that I put before them. So a lot of this energy right now trying to come towards each other with open vulnerability, boom, authentic connections right here. How you doing? Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the breakthrough point. And I see even now some of this frustration, if this is energy that's putting words to action, if this is energy that moved into a deepening of an energetic commitment and is actually acting upon it, you're creating something that wasn't there. It's having an energetic impact, and seeing the way that it's having an energetic impact on the connections around the partnerships. Even here, it's bittersweet, because this is the energy that is not like trying to change someone's mind if someone's in that point of volatility, but just observing it and learning from it, right? It's bittersweet. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Some days are just weird. Today's a weird day for the energy deep within divine union, right? And so even here, like working through and navigating the weirdness, like what are you going to do? Like some days are just weird. It's a weird day. But here I see even now, like, I feel like the energy within divine unions, like it's a weird day. Just like put on your construction hat, like buckle your seatbelt. There's turbulence kind of thing. Continuing to get clarification between our moon card and our Queen of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify. And this is the energy says, I love you because you're weird, is what I'm also hearing too. There you go. World card and it's upright. Right? Like, what are you gonna do when things are weird? You're gonna throw a fit about? No. It's gonna roll with it. What are you gonna do? I just see that for a lot of this energy right now, just working through something to a certain degree, Like navigate, like this is the energy. Like this is what I mean when I keep hearing today's like cruise control. Like some days just ride it out. Some days just like roll with it. You know, you're like, okay, this is where today's going. Like I guess this is going to be the direction we're going in today. But when you're in that space and you enjoy the ride, then like, you know, you don't take it personally. You know, like it's giving a lot of like, you know, appreciate the retrograde for the bizarre little side quest that you may have in the journey of navigating through it. Like, for energy deep within divine, coming into divine union right now, I see a bunch of energy that is feeling the impact of in taking something seriously and something in gaining gravity within their own energetic fields. And when we create gravity within our energetic fields as it relates to deepening connections, it has an impact. It has an impact on the surrounding energy. For better, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And that's why I see even now, I just hear the energy in the coming into divine union, taking the note, right? Taking the note. While for masculine and feminine energy, in separation, a lot of this work in separation, I just see is facilitated and recognizing, very grounded right now. I see a lot of the energy that's saying, I want to be here. I don't want to be here, but I want to be here. The paradox of someone saying, I don't want to be here and I want to be here. Why is the energy in separation saying, I don't want to be here, but I want to be here? Because this is the energy that's articulating and saying manifestation into partnership is my desire, but it doesn't mean that I just accept it in whatever form it comes towards me. This is the energy that says quality over quantity. This is the energy saying I'm not waiting, I'm seeking. I know what I'm looking for. Make no mistake is what I'm hearing. And they're moving towards each other carefully because they're conscientious. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Cups in its reversal and our Emperor in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with, I like it. We've got here our Three of Pentacles in its upright. So again, I am cringe, but I am free. I just hear a lot of the energy in separation going, I am cringe, but I am free. Because that is that same feeling of saying, I don't want to be here, but I'm happy to be here. Like, I don't want to be here, but I'm happy to be here. I am cringe, but I am free. Because this is the energy that says, I'm not going to go somewhere else. I can see some energy in separation being like, oh, I could be over there. I just wouldn't be me. I can see some energy being like, oh, I could go back to that. I would have to literally become a different person. Like I see some energy being like, oh, I know I can go back to that past experience, but I can't because I'm not that person anymore. I would have to become that person again. And the energy going, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. And so for some of the feminine energy, this is a lot of the feminine articulating and saying a good energetic connection is one that will honor my standards. For masculine, this is masculine saying to feminine, I'm doing that work on being my authentic self so that you can be your authentic self in the process, right? One is putting on the energetic armor. The other one is disrobing. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, didn't expect it to feel this way, right? I can just see a bunch of this energy even now in the modality of seeing something and saying this should feel like a celebration point. There's something really interesting when you're navigating something that feels like an energetic celebration, and there's those around you that don't seem to navigate in that way, right? It creates that like I just keep hearing, taking the note, if you will, right? Bittersweet, but also reaffirming, because this is an energy. I see even now, this is an energy that says, oh, others don't like what I'm doing. I guess that this isn't for me. This is the energy that says, I know what it is that I desire. And this is a lot of the energy coming into divine union that reaffirms our own commitment and saying when we move on pathwork of purpose, we better be ready to disappoint energy along the way, right? Well, for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, just one of those days. I wish I could be more help for you for the energy deep within divine union. Just one of those days. It's just one of those days. it's just one of those days. Just enjoy the ride. Just go, just do the side quest. You know what I mean? Whatever you have to do here. Final card for today's spread between our world card in its upright in combination with our three of pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. Come on. You want to come out? There we go. We got our 10 of wands in its reversal. You know, you gotta give the Gatorade its due. You gotta give, and what do you do, right? When something's going wrong, what are you gonna do? You're gonna throw a fit? You're gonna throw a tantrum? What are you gonna do? You just gotta, when you're in that modality, like even when you're working on that sense of self, you're like the ego, right? The energetic ego wants to throw a tantrum, right? The energetic ego wants to articulate their own frustration. But what do I see that the energy deep within divine union does at that moment that the energetic ego wants to throw a tantrum? They sprout wings. They distract the energetic ego. They go, hey, look. Right? So we see even now, like there's a little bit of this feeling of internal pacification that's occurring right now for the energy becoming referential on the self in so much of that sense or that state of saying that when life wants you to feel low, you go energetically high. Right? What are you going to do? Like that ability of doing so, like just allowing that context to kind of reframe your own energetic persona to a certain extent, working through that today. I want you to think about that. Even if you're navigating something that feels frustrating, even if you're navigating something that feels energetically rigid, you don't have to be that rigid point. You can be adaptable, and you can be adaptable in recognizing the difference between being energetically adaptable versus what you know that you have to like what it is that you prioritize or what you care about. So when you're feeling that, I want you to reaffirm and ground back into yourself by remembering what is what is important. And in that way, I see even now there's something about today's energy that can feel, and we've been talking about this for ever since the retrograde started. The first step in overcoming an obstacle is recognizing that it's there. Don't feel frustrated if you experience that obstacle. Let that be something that you say, that in itself is an easement point, because an obstacle that is recognized is an obstacle that can be overcome. Final card in today's spread, bottom of the deck. Four of swords in its reversal. Yeah, so it's a lot of the and we expect this. The thing about this is like the past. Like it's a lot of that kind of energy here. It's like, ooh, the past. It's like, what happens when like the energetic past returns to a certain extent? You get frustrated of it. The difference isn't whether the past comes back, it's whether something has changed or whether it feels like a lot of the same, like the same thing. So for some energy right now, that sense of the past returning and recognizing how far you have changed, it may be feeling much like a moment of contemplation and introspection. For some of the energy right now, that sense of the past coming back towards you and that sense of like recognition, like that can feel very affirming. So remember, even if the past comes back towards you in a way that you don't desire it to, don't let that change your own purpose. Don't let that, like, who you energetically are, right? And that sense or that space of holding, I feel like that sense or space of when we hold on to the past too tightly, that is where we allow bitterness to come in, right? That's where we allow pain to set in. So let that, like again, that gift of slipperiness, hold the past with a gentle grip, which means observe it from a place of wonder and care, and then let it go to a certain extent. Because even in that ability of doing so, it's the past that informs that we can build gratitude upon without allowing it to create bitterness in our present context. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into private readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the chariot. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. If you would like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into each month's live classes. It is also your library card to the Tarot Church, which has the full list of previous classes and recordings there. There's about 8 hours worth of material there, so once you subscribe, you'll have access to that as well. It's not necessary to catch up on all those classes. I'll be giving a recap on where we find ourselves in each and every class, but the material's there for you to receive when you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far or anything that we're currently learning. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're just joining us there for the first time, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And if you are a subscriber on TikTok, head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel that only you have access to from being a subscriber to TikTok. There you will find a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount on those classes. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which lets you know about my live events as well as my online live schedule each week. You'll also be notified as to giveaway information. Speaking of giveaways, we are completing our November giveaway. I'm going to be announcing the winner of that giveaway this week over on my Substack. So if you'd like to see who that winner is, make sure that you're following me over there. Also, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are classes that are for my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. These are focused on whatever area of personal growth or spiritual development you are most invested in learning more about. They can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again